Going to go over it together. Just guess and try your best. So pause the video now and try to do these 4 problems. Well, I hope the problems went well for you. Let's start by looking at the first one, 12 times 11. 12 times 11, they're both positive numbers, so we don't need to worry about negative numbers for this one. It is equal to 132. Okay, number 2 is negative 5 times positive 14. I don't know if you've seen multiplication written this way before. If you have 2 numbers in brackets beside each other, it means times. You don't need to write the little times symbol like we did up here, because if they're just in brackets like this, we know it means times. So negative 5 times 14 is equal to negative 70. So to get the 70, we have multiplied 5 times 14, and because we only have one negative sign, our answer is going to be a negative. Number 3, 21 times negative 19. 21 times negative 19, when you multiply 21 times 19, you'll get 399. And because there's one negative, that means our answer is going to have one negative in it. So our answer here is negative 399. Number 4. Number 4 is negative 8 times negative 11. Well, 8 times 11 is 88. And because there's 2 negative signs, a negative times a negative is a positive because they kind of cancel each other out. So we end up with a positive number. That's our little warm-up to get our brain started. Now we're going to talk about the rules, and you're going to write your rules inside your foldable under the multiplication section. So the rules, let's take a look. A positive number times a positive number always gives us a positive. We've been doing that forever. That's like 4 times 3 is equal to 12. We know that. Okay, the next one is a negative times a negative. So if we have 2 negatives, that's equal to a positive, which is often very, very surprising. But the way I think of it is that a negative and a negative, when you multiply them, they cancel each other out. So you end up with no negatives left and just a positive left over. Okay, the third situation. If you have a positive times a negative, your answer will be a negative. And if you have a negative times a positive, your answer will be a negative. So even if there's just one negative, your answer is going to be negative. Now there's a nice way to summarize this. If you have the same sign, so if you have a positive and a positive, or a negative and a negative, your answer is going to be positive. So if we have the same sign, your product is positive. But here, if we have different signs or even just one negative and nobody to cancel them out, it's going to be negative. You can write this down in your foldable as well, or just the rules in your foldable. Whatever is going to help you, that's the purpose of your foldable. So if you need to pause it now to finish recording everything in your foldable, you should do that. If not, just keep watching. All right, let's talk about how to multiply decimals. I've written out some steps to help guide us through it. So you should fill in the blanks on your guided note with your steps. The first step is to multiply like normal, which is great. Then when you're multiplying like normal with decimals, you do not need to line up the decimals. You just write it like normal. Then you count the number of decimal places in your factors. Now factors are the numbers that are multiplied. So for example, in number 1, our factors are 2 and 23 hundredths, or 2.23, and 4 and 1/10, or 4.1. Then we add that many decimal places to your product, and your product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So we add that many to our answer, and then lastly we're going to figure out our sign. Okay, let's do an example. Here we have 2 and 23 hundredths times 4 and 1/10. So step number 1, multiply like normal, do not line up the decimals. Okay, so let's write it like we would normally. And we're not going to line up the decimals. Now we multiply like normal. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Add a goes 0. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 4 times 2 is 8. And we find the sum. 3 and 0 is 3, 2 and 2 is 4, 9 and 2 is 11, and 8 and 1 is 9. All right, number 2, we need to count the number of decimal places in our factors. So these are our factors up here. And in our first factor, we have 2 decimal places. And in our second one, we have 1 more. So that's a total of 3 decimal places. So we need to add 3 decimal places to our product, or our answer. So we go 1, 2, 3. So that means that our product of 2 and 2.23 times 4.1 is equal to 9.143. And if you think about it using estimation, we have about 2 times about 4, which should give us around 8. So this makes sense. It's close enough to 8 that we can think, okay, that looks like it would be right. All right, number 2. No, wait. For number 1, we don't need to worry about our sign. They're both positive numbers, so we don't need to figure anything out because it's a positive number. Okay, what about number 2? Let's look at it. First, we're going to multiply like normal. And we don't line up our decimals, so we just write times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 times 3 is 3. Now we need to count the number of decimal places in our factors. Well, I have 2 decimal places in my factors, so I'm going to add 1, 2 to my product down here. This one didn't have any decimals, so I didn't need to add any for it. This had a total of 2 decimal places. Okay, now we need to figure out our sign. Well, here we have 1 negative and 1 positive. So remember, when we have 1 negative and there's nobody to cancel them out, our answer is going to be a negative. So the product is going to be 39.03. And it's a negative number, so negative 39.03. And if we think about this using estimation, well, this is close to 10, and 3 times 10 is 30, but then the 3 times 3 would be 9, so it makes sense that it will be about 40. Oh. All right, next problems. Again, we're going to write it like normal. Multiply like normal. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 4 again is 36, plus 3 is 39. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 3 again is 39. Add a 0. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 4 again is 32, plus 3 is 35. 8 times 4 is 40, plus 3 is 43. And then we're going to find the sum and add these together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 2 is 11. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 5 is 15. 3 and 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Then we have a 4. Now we need to look at our decimal places. So in our factors, we have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So I'm going to add 3 decimal places to our answer. 1, 2, 3. Now we need to think about the sign now that we have our number. Our factors have 1 negative. There's no negative to cancel them out, so that means that our answer is going to be a negative number. So our product is going to be negative 47 and 516 thousandths, or negative 47.516. All right, let's look at number 4. If you want to try it on your own, go for it. Pause the video, try it on your own, and then press play to check your answer. If you want to do it with me, just do it with me. We have 5.4 times negative 5.4, times negative 9.2. I'm going to write it like normal. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 5 is 10. Add a 0. 9 times 4 is 36, and 9 times 5 is 45, plus that 3 is 48. Then I add them together. 8 and 0 is 8, and 0 and 6 is 6. 1 and 8 is 9, and then I get my 4. Now count the number of decimals in my factors. There's 1, 2, so I add 1, 2, and then I get 49. Now, in my factors, if we look at the signs, I have a negative and another negative. So if they have the same sign, it's actually going to be a positive. Or a negative, they cancel each other out, so it's going to give us a positive answer. So this is 49.68. Now if we want to think about it and double check that it makes sense, 5.4 is close to 5, and 9.2 is kind of close to 10. And 5 times 10 is 50. So it makes sense that our answer would be close to 50. Okay, here we're going to now switch over. We're finished talking about decimals. Let's talk about fractions. Multiplying fractions is one of my favorite operations. And it's because you'll see why soon. Okay, we're going to multiply 2/3 times 4/5. Now, if I want to represent 2/3, I could draw this shape here because I have 2 out of the 3 colored in. I'm going to multiply that by 4/5. So here I have 4 out of the 5 colored in, and that's 4/5. If I multiply them together, and by overlapping them, this is how we get our product. The part that's green, where they both overlap, is our product. And here we have 8 green squares out of 15 total squares. Now the nice thing about multiplying fractions, if you look at this, 2 times 4 is equal to 8, and 3 times 5 is equal to 15. So when we're multiplying fractions, we don't need to worry about a common denominator or anything like that. All we need to do is multiply our numerators and then multiply our denominators. So let's look at our steps. The first step, always when you're multiplying fractions, if you have a mixed number, you need to convert it into an improper fraction first. Then you're going to multiply your numerators, then your denominators, then you're going to figure out your sign, and lastly you're going to simplify. All right, let's do this one together. 3/5 times 2/3. Well, I'm going to multiply our numerators. 3 times 2 is 6, and then I multiply our denominators, or the numbers on the bottom. 5 times 3 is 15. They're both positive, so I don't need to worry about any signs, but I do need to simplify this. My 6 is divisible by 3, and so is my 15. So 6 divided by 3 is going to give me 2, and 15 divided by 3 is going to give me 5. So that means that 3/5 times 2/3 is actually 2/5. All right, let's look at number 2. I have -4/9 times -3/8. Now, we are going to first multiply our numerators. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we multiply our denominators. 9 times 8 is 72. Now I have a negative times a negative. So remember, they cancel each other out. So we actually end up with a positive answer. So we don't need to write a sign here. But we do need to simplify this. Now I know both of these are divisible by 2 because they're even numbers and they end in 2. 12 divided by 2, I can do in my head. That gives me 6. And 72 divided by 2, you might not be able to do in your head, but 72 divided by 2, you can always check it using long division. That's going to give you 36. And this is not simplified yet. Now I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is going to give me 1, and 36 divided by 6 is going to give me 6. So this, -4/9 times -3/8 is actually equal to 1/6. Okay, number 3. If you want to try this one on your own, go for it, pause the video, give it a try, and then click play to see how you did. I'm going to do it now though. Numerators get multiplied together first, so we have 4 times 8, and that's 32. And then we multiply our denominators. 5 times 9 is 45. Now we have to think about our negatives. We have one negative sign here. There's nothing to cancel it out. So we're actually going to end up with a negative product in this situation. Now we need to think about simplifying this. It looks like you should be able to simplify it because they're two really big numbers, but they actually don't have any common factors. There's nothing that you can divide both of them by. So this is our answer. All right, let's look at number 4. Okay, with number 4, we have a mixed number, and you should be thinking, a mixed number. What do I do when I see a mixed number? Oh, I know. I'm going to convert it into an improper fraction. Excellent. So here we have our mixed number, -1 and 5/6. We need to convert it into an improper fraction. To do that, we multiply 1 times 6, which is 6, and we add 5. So it'd be 11 over 6. Now it was negative, so I'm going to add my negative signs here, times negative 2 over 3. Well, now I multiply my numerators. 11 times 2 is 22, and 6 times 3 gives me 18. Now let's think about our signs. We have a negative times a negative. So the two are going to cancel each other out, and we're going to end up with a positive number. Now we need to simplify this. I can see quickly that they're both divisible by 2, so I'm going to do that. We have 11 over 9. This is an improper fraction, so let's convert it back to a proper fraction. I would get 1 and 2 ninths. So that means that negative 1 and 5/6 times negative 2/3 is actually equal to 1 and 2 ninths. Okay, now you're going to try some mixed practice. Please pause the video and try numbers 1 through 4. When you're finished, click play. What I'll do is I'm not going to go through each question. I'm just going to put the answers up. If you run into a problem and you get stuck along the way, my suggestion is to go back in the video to where I did some examples with the decimals or with the fractions and re-watch it to see if you can figure out where your mistake was. Okay, give it a try now and just try your best. So click pause. Welcome back. I hope it went well. Let's talk about your answers here. Negative 3 and 9/10 times 8 and 9/10, or negative 3.9 times 8.9, is equal to negative 34 and 71/100, or negative 34.71. Okay, what about number 2, our fractions here? This would give you a product of negative 1 over 14. Number 3 is going to give us a negative number, and I know that this number is going to be close to about 70, right? So your answer should have been negative 69 and 93/100, which is very close to 70. Okay, this last one here was a tricky one. It's tricky because it's got two mixed numbers. When you did it, hopefully your final answer was 6 and 6/35. Okay, that's all for our video lesson today. If you need more practice, how about you just click rewind in the video and rewatch any part you'd like to watch again. If you're ready to move on and give it a try, go on ahead to the practice and see how you do. That's all for now. I'll talk to you later.